increasing global pressure, of course, on Israel to claw back some of that bombardment, and Israel basically turning around and saying, no chance. We have two goals: get rid of Hamas and get our hostages back.
I'm afraid they're right. You know, as horrible as war is, you know, this country was attacked in the most barbaric terrorist attack that, you know, many of us can remember for many years. And, you know, dreadful things you can't even kind of really repeat on daytime television, which happened. And, you know, they have got to eliminate Hamas. You know, it's all very well. I keep on hearing MPs going on about there needs to be a ceasefire, especially Labour MPs. It needs to be a ceasefire. Well, the ceasefire would just be Israel's, because it's quite clear that Hamas would not stop. And, you know, this is a organisation which literally murders disabled children. So it's not a, you know, you can't put a normal moral equivalence on something like that.
We had an apologist on Friday, on our show on Friday, speaking out for Palestine, not Hamas, I should stress. But he did say, he literally said to us, remember Alex, on Friday, he said, well, you know, ever since Israel broke the ceasefire, sorry? Yeah. Israel didn't break the ceasefire. In fact, there was a ceasefire before October the 7th, which Hamas disgustingly and grotesquely broke. And now last week we had the ceasefire. It was Hamas sending rockets in again. That broke the ceasefire. And the day before the ceasefire ended, Hamas warriors went in, I use the term loosely, went into Jerusalem and shot 3 innocent Israelis dead at a bus stop. They ended the ceasefire. So, you know, this aggression that Gaza is suffering from Israel is Israel defending itself, and Hamas are the ones who don't want a ceasefire, right?
And remember, when, you know, Israel actually delayed their action against Hamas to create a safe corridor for people to escape, normal civilians to escape, who was it who held civilians back from going into that safe corridor? Who then was it who bombarded that safe corridor of their own citizens? It was Hamas, again. You know.
A senior British-born Israeli MP has said in an interview today that she thinks there's a real danger that elements of the left wing in UK politics is way too sympathetic towards Hamas. There was this 25-minute-long diatribe by left-wing pin-up Owen Jones, who said he'd seen that ghoulish... Well, who is he?
I've never heard of him.
He's seen that ghoulish footage, and it was almost trying to explain it away. David, you've seen the footage that Israel has put out, haven't you, of quite what... Yeah. Can you, without telling us any gory details, but your reaction to what you saw?
I was just horrified when I heard what Owen Jones had to say. I mean, Owen's very much kind of yesterday's never was, in the sense that he was Jeremy Corbyn's man. But I mean, even so, you know, he has quite a strong following around the country, and to have seen what I saw, if he really saw the same film as I saw, you know, I couldn't sleep for 2 nights after seeing it. It's horrendous stuff, horrendous, graphic, awful things being done, and to try and make light of that or to say it was nothing it's shocking, actually. And I'm afraid that British-born MP in Israel is absolutely right. I would say it's not just an element of the left in this country; it's a large part of the left in this country. And it doesn't take much for the lid to be lifted on it, I'm afraid.
Well, Owen Jones and his ilk, there are ideologues for whom the truth has always been binary. Israel, evil; Palestine, wonderful. That's it. That's their intelligence. Corbyn has not changed his mind on that for 60 years.
Nobody can explain to me why they're obsessed with Palestine. Why are they not obsessed with other Muslim groups, like the Uyghurs, who have been systematically exterminated in China? You know, there are other Muslim groups around the world. If you want to talk about it as an Islamophobic thing, or, but they're obsessed with Palestine. And I can only assume it's because of Israel's connection to America and the anti-Semitism and the anti-Americanism.
It's got a life of its own now, though, that. But where do you think we're heading, David, with this conflict? Because I think after the end of the ceasefire, we're looking at a long, drawn-out war, aren't we?
Well, the conflict will be finished, I think, when Israel finishes Hamas, and it'll take time, but they will do it, and then they will occupy that territory, I would imagine. That's what they're saying they're going to do. That in itself will, I'm afraid, just exacerbate the problems because, of course, there will be continued terrorist attacks and there will be attempts to blame Israel going forward. But I don't see what other options they have, unfortunately.
Essentially, this ends when Iran decides they want it to end, probably.